Olive Coursolle, welcome to the Empowered Soul Network. I'm very excited to have you here. I'm looking forward to the journey you're about to take us on. Welcome.
Thank you, Sandra. It's a joy to be here with everyone, and it's wonderful to be part of the Empowered Soul Network family.
I'm glad to hear that. That warms my heart inside.
Mhm.
Olive, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and kind of what you're about right now in life?
Yes, thank you, Sandra. So, I'm a spiritual coach and I specialize in consciousness expansion and energy medicine. I do this because I'm driven by the passion that I have for everyone living their divine design. And there are many levels, of course, to our divine design. So, I help everyone get unstuck using the power of their divine design to live the life they're destined to have. That's what I do in this current lifetime. In my previous life in the corporate world, I was actually a content development manager for one of China's biggest ed tech companies, and I helped them get launched on the New York Stock Exchange with the work that my team was doing.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. So tell me, Olive, what is it? Did you experience that in your life at some point, that feeling of being stuck?
Oh, absolutely. There are many points actually, like for everyone. We have many invitations to step into our greatness. So I had several of those in adolescence and in childhood, even, and also, of course, in my adult life, all through the different stages of my adult life. So basically, Sandra, I've gained like almost 30 years of experience healing by learning to heal myself and then working with others to help them heal themselves too. So yeah, I definitely have several of those.
Is there one that kind of stands out in your mind that was kind of a linchpin for you to make
Mm.
shifts for yourself?
Yes, the biggest one was when I started working for one of these big companies and the stress was intense. And so it activated all the genetic potential for serious illness. So my reaction to the stress was basically to have walking pneumonia every couple of months. So I was often in the doctors, the ER for severe reactions to basically almost everything, whether I ingested it or I was simply exposed to it. So that was one turning point. It's exactly the invitation that made me consider I have all these healing gifts. I've always known that I have all these gifts, but I put them to the side. I maybe did some coaching or soul readings on the weekends, but I wasn't fully paying attention to what I was really here to do. So around that time, I was invited to consider what was really important to me. Sure, the work I was doing for education was valuable, but at the same time, it was costing me my soul basically. So, like everyone, there comes that time when we are invited to look at what we're doing and why, and what else we could be doing to make the world a better place. That happened for me a few years ago, about 6 years ago or seven now.
Wow. Did you find that so you are going through all of this challenge with your body, and
Mhm.
then you're making these connections with what you need to do and shift with, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it your purpose in life or how you relate to that. What was that journey like then? Did things start to shift for you in your body as you started leaning into whatever else you were being called to?
Yes, that mindset shift when I realized I need to embrace and lean into my gifts rather than simply making like a hobby almost and giving it time when my work wasn't at the forefront of my consciousness. But also, I then used those gifts to begin making changes to my physiology. So fully seeing the extent of how much I could, in fact, help my body heal was definitely such an enjoyable and magical event when I started leaning into those gifts.
Mm. What would be some tips that you might give just knowing your journey and how you experienced that for people that may be experiencing similar either similar challenges with their body or just that feeling of knowing, "Hey, I've got gifts here that
Mm,
I'm not working with and it's costing me."
mhm. We are bombarded by so much input, so much information from everywhere, Sandra, that I found that we could all really use a break, a breather from all of that sensory input, and even the input from within. There's so much programming in our subconscious and even in our unconscious that rattles around in there and filters our radiance, our divine intelligence, all our gifts, right? So, taking a step back from everything to be in the stillness of our own energy is such a crucial, non negotiable, I feel, that everyone can learn to leverage. So that's the invitation that's always present. When we get overwhelmed by all that noise, we are invited to the stillness of our own hearts and our own selves, our own energy, that we may tune in to that great impulse of love that radiates from us and that empowers us to do what we're destined to do here on earth.
Wow, that's beautiful. The
Thank you.
stillness. I feel as you're talking, I can feel that stillness within.
Mm,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you. I find that that's actually part of my gift. No matter what's going on in a person's life, the moment we step into sacred space together, then if they say yes to the invitation, they can feel that very resonance within the moment they step into sacred space in that intention to connect with me and to connect to their divine design.
I love that. Tell me more about what you just said there. If they say yes to the invitation.
Of course. Yes, that's really all about how we're invited to look at our choices. We're actually very powerful beings, of course, Sandra. And we have these choice points all throughout our lives. So even if it looks like we're stuck on a certain trajectory or we're looping in certain patterns, the reality is that doesn't change the fact we have a choice. We can choose to recreate the old based on the historical evidence of our past, or we can say yes to the divine potentials that exist within us. All our hopes and our dreams, all the things that reignite our passion, those are those invitations. So when we say, okay, let's maybe look at that, or what would happen if I do this? Even considering all those options, that's part of beginning to say yes to the invitation. And then when we say yes, okay, I'll follow that clue. I'll follow that breadcrumb I've given myself. Then we unlock so much, all the potentials that exist within.
Hmm. How do you relate Olive to the idea of a life purpose?
Hmm. We are by divine design meant to have one or actually sometimes many related things that utilize the best of us and invite us to continuously renew ourselves so we can give the best of us to this world, to others, especially those we love and those who need our help. So I definitely relate to the idea that we are here by divine design to share all that magic with the rest of the world.
Hmm. Wow. What were you like as a child? What did you enjoy doing as a child?
I definitely enjoyed connecting with energy, being in my own energy field. So I am still highly introverted. So I am INFJ, in fact. So one of those highly empathic beings. So as a child, I was often reading. In fact, I was joking in the networking event I joined. My favorite toy was a book when I was growing up. So I was definitely in my own energy or in the energy of a book written by a magnificent soul who invited me into his or her world.
That's beautiful. Did you describe yourself as an empath, right? Really highly
Mm,
sensitive. Were you able to, as a child, find strategies to help you with that level of sensitivity? Or was
mm,
it kind of one of those things that had to evolve more when you were an adult?
mm. Well, yes, my strategy primarily was being in the world, the energy field of books to stabilize me. But then as I grew older, I understood that we have many helpers, helping beings, helping tools in our toolkit. So as I grew older, I discovered the power of crystals, for example. And so I began journeying. I began stewarding crystals in order to support me on my journey as an empath. Yeah, for sure.
That's so interesting you say that. My the word stabilize you. The book stabilized you. That's a very unique way to describe that. I have a daughter who loves books as well, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of listening very intently that it's really interesting to think about looking at children that way, right? About
Mm-hmm.
how can what is it that that is doing for them? Like you and your
Mm-hmm.
books, it's like what is happening for you as a child that that is helping, like you just said, stabilize you. I think that's really
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Children, we intuitively actually have a sense of what's good for us, especially when we are raised in a very supportive, empowering environment. So I have found that when children are shown that their wisdom about themselves is such a powerful tool with which they can navigate life and with which they can shine. I feel that's quite an important thing for children to be supported with. That knowledge that they have their own wisdom and that they have their own tools unique to them. So it's beautiful you are in fact supporting your daughter with her love of books and in her love of books to do so for herself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And to have that word stabilize, that's a good word. That's a good word for people to, myself included, to recognize is that what can help stabilize when I'm feeling off or when I'm feeling
Mhm,
disconcerted.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. In my experience as well, Sandra, meditation is a powerful tool for that kind of consciousness expansion. I mean, for sure, books are a gateway into consciousness expansion, but we also have within ourselves, by divine design, our own mind. This is a mental universe, after all. So, by divine design, our own minds are, in fact, one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal to shift the projection that we experience as life.
Mm, beautiful. This is going to be an expansion on what we've already been talking about, but is there anything you would add to describe how you would describe an empowered soul?
Mm, yes, an empowered soul understands their divine design, not only at the personal level, because that is unique to each of us. I speak of what others call soul blueprints, and our viewers may be familiar with some of them already, like the natal chart from astrology or the life path number from numerology or the gene keys or human design or quantum human design. Those are individual or individuated soul blueprints. We also actually have our cosmic or universal soul blueprints common to everyone. So everyone has the four bodies, of course. So the empowered soul knows his or her four bodies intimately and understands what each cosmic blueprint contains and knows how to work with those. So I would say the empowered soul knows himself or herself or themselves very well.
Mm. Wow, yeah, that's a huge, huge piece, isn't it? Yes,
Mm.
yes. For those who don't know about the four bodies, can you explain that?
Yes, we have our physical body. Of course, we know this self very well. And improving our relationship with our physical body is definitely one way of unlocking the rest of our divine design, because our four bodies all interact or converge in the physical body. And then there is the emotional body, of course, and that is, unfortunately, if we are having challenges with our physical body, that means that the emotional body has a lot that doesn't need to be there, that doesn't necessarily serve our highest and greatest good. So that emotional body is the repository of our pain, the memories of our suffering, and the challenges of unintegrated energy. By divine design, our energy at any of the four body levels are meant to move and meant to circulate and to shift that circulation or that configuration for optimum well-being, optimum physical health. But when we have unintegrated emotional energy in our emotional body, then we actually begin to densify that. It becomes dense physical matter that becomes the inner toxins that lead to physical issues. So that's the second level of our four body system. We have the mental body. Of course, we also know that mental body very well because we focus on these thoughts very much as a modern society. We're very much in our heads rather than in our bodies or in our mental, our emotional bodies. So the mental body is the repository of all our thoughts, whether conscious or subconscious or even unconscious, because there's a clear distinction between the three levels of thought as well. So that's the mental body. And lastly, we have the spiritual body, which is, of course, the convergence point of all the non-physical levels of our consciousness, of our being. And so that's like the layer that we as humans can interact with. But our spiritual body is actually only the gateway to so much more of our vastness. So it's soul level and beyond.
Wow. Beautiful explanation. That's so easy to follow. I really appreciate
Mm,
the simple way that you put all of that.
thank you. Yes.
Olive, if you were to take, kind of a scan of your life and maybe distill um, something that you've learned, maybe even something we haven't talked about, or elaborate on something we have, what would it be?
By divine design, Sandra, we are embodiments of love. And for me, my understanding of our soul purpose is actually that to embody love, especially toward the self. Because when we are in our optimum, highest, maximum levels of self love, we can unlock so much more of our capacity to give. The soul, the empowered soul, in those optimum levels of self love is a self sustaining powerhouse of divine intelligence in action. So, when we can do that, when we can activate the highest levels of self love for ourselves, then we have almost limitless power, only limited by our human imagination about what that force of love that we are can do. So
Mm,
I would love to underscore that. All our lessons in any lifetime are designed by divine design to help us understand that to be the fullest embodiment of love, we must be able to harness that love for the self first, that we may give selflessly and without limit to everything and everyone else.
mm. How do you take that and actually now apply that? How do you
Mm.
how do you personally maybe what are some of those things that you implement, or some of those practical, because we're here, on this planet and we have our day-to-day grind of things, right? Are there some things that you do specifically that help you dial into that consistently?
Absolutely, Sandra. So, in terms of scheduling, in terms of prioritizing physical activities for our well-being or for our work or for family, the one thing to remember or to ask ourselves is, does this feed my soul? Does this contribute to the highest and greatest good? That's always for me, that's actually a practical question to ask. So if it means, oh, I shouldn't actually bother with worrying about leaving something undone because it does not contribute to the highest and greatest good for that time, that is an act of self-love for starters. And then in terms of following through on commitments, that's also another very good question to ask. The same question, does it contribute to the highest or and greatest good? That's one practical way of deciding what to focus on, right? Another is making sure that self-care is a priority because that allows us to give back to life in more ways. So I work with clients to help them understand where they're leaking energy, where they're not giving themselves that optimum self-care, optimum self-love, optimum self-compassion. When we can clean that up in terms of prioritizing the self, aside from prioritizing everything as a whole, then things generally fall into place in the right sequence and order. I've also found that our mindset, cleaning up our mindset or stabilizing our mindset so that we can do what we want to do is another practical way. So I often work with a lot of journaling tools with my clients and powerful conversation prompts that invite them to re-examine what's going on, what the mindset, the attitude is with which we approach life. So although a lot of that is very much inward focus or inner work, they actually help us deal with life in the most expansive ways I have found, the best ways, the most productive ways.
Hmm,
So I would start with the inner work so that the outer work basically actually almost takes care of itself.
beautiful. Olive, I really appreciate you sharing all of this. There's so much I think you can listen over and over and over to this interview and take away some little piece and nugget each time. Would you like to share, is there anything else that's on your mind that you'd like to share, and then maybe how people can connect with you?
Thank you. Yes, Sandra. So I would love for everyone to remember that by divine design, there is so much potential in each of us, and that whatever level we are able to tap into that, that is perfect. That is just right. And so there is no need to also be worried like, oh, I'm missing out on something. That's not self-love. So that kindness to ourselves in recognizing that by simply continuing to be here, we are in a place of power. So I invite everyone to remember we have the power of our choice, our free will, the power of our attention, our focus, and our mind at our disposal. And whatever it is that's happening at any given point in our lives, we still have and always will have that power to turn things around and make everything work in our favor so that we can love and live the way we're destined to.
Hmm.
So that's the reminder I would like everyone to now have on the forefront of their consciousness. Such is the power in each of us, any time, any point, any moment in our lives. And if they'd like to get personal support, I would love to hold you in your magnificence. So I invite them to please connect. I'll be leaving my details in the comments below this interview, and even uh, gifting them with a free power strategy session. I would love to extend that invitation to everyone to take up one of those slots on my calendar for a power strategy session. Let's sort out how you can unlock your particular situation, your learning lesson uh, with a power strategy session. I'd be happy to empower them with that.
Beautiful. Wow, thank you. So is it mypowermap.com? Is that your website?
Yes, mypowermap.com. It takes you right to a short list of questions that help me tune in to their divine design. And then it takes them right to my calendar on the second step. After they answer all of these little questions, almost all of them, except the last one, are multiple choice. So, it doesn't take very long to get through those questions, just so that I can begin tuning into their divine design, and then they can schedule that power strategy session. It's all complimentary. So please, if you're feeling stuck and you need a new perspective, you need a new perspective to help you unlock what's here, to unlock the potential in a challenge, then it can't hurt to hear that perspective of divine design.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much, Olive. Thank you for sharing with all of us, sharing your light, sharing some of your journey, and some of the solutions out there for everybody that might be feeling similar.
Mm.
Everybody in Empowered Soul Network, you've been listening to Olive Coursolle. Did I say it right? Yes, Olive Coursolle, and I'll tag you here, and you can drop your links below.
Thank you, Sandra. And thank you, everyone. Be radiant as always.
Lovely. Love it. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.